Hello everyone, welcome to SIG Autoscaling weekly meeting for Monday the 19th of February 2024. Currently have a few items on the agenda. Couple of, still waiting to hear back from Jeff on the HPA questions. I think unfortunately there's not quite enough detail for us to tackle them without Jeff here to expand on them. So I pinged the person that I think is via Slack, but still not heard anything back yet. And he delayed just long enough. Marco.
Yeah, sorry. So let me quickly open up the agenda. I think like the first item was about cutting a new VPA release, right?
Yeah.
So E2E tests are finally back to green. And now the question is, do we want to cut a new release, and when? There have been a few CVE fixes in the meanwhile, updates of Golang versions and so on. And we haven't done one for quite a while. Yeah, I'm not sure if any one of the maintainers is here. Probably not. No.
I don't think so. I think we're a bit light on Google representation this week.
Yeah, I think I talked to Kevin at the end of last week. They may have a day off or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so from some Slack conversations I was having. Yeah. Okay. I guess we can follow up on Slack.
Yep.
On that update next week.
Okay. Yeah, and somewhat related to that, like the end-to-end tests have been read for a pretty long while without many people noticing. And now the question is, like, should we talk a bit about this and also figure out a way like how to change this? I'm not sure like who's actively looking at the test grid or supposed to do it, and if there is like any kind of alerting going on, and like if we have a good way, for example, to run them on every PR, or if this is something that we don't want to do. But yeah. It's not a good feeling to merge like a huge PR and then find out it breaks end-to-end tests. And like as the person reviewing, it's also not a fun thing to do locally on your machine because they run for like 4 hours. So yeah. And from time to time, I'm seeing like flakes on my local machine, which I don't see in CI, which is also like not ideal. Okay, so I guess this is also something that we follow up later.
Yeah, I think it's in sort of collaboration with the second point. I think it is one of those things that we've let slip, and maybe it's something that we should make part of this weekly meeting. Like we generally don't use the full half hour, so make it part of the meeting to sort of review the current test grid status and see if we can see if anyone has the time to pick up tests which are currently flaking or failing.
Yep, that's also fine. Sure.
Cool. I think that sort of covers both. I will try to pick up Dims's one on the flaking test issue with cluster autoscaler. It's not an area I have a huge amount of experience in, so might end up needing to sort of pull Magic or others in.
Yeah, sure. I thought so, given that this is also stack driver related, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that we have this on our radar.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks. There have been also other pings, like by enhancement team lead and other stuff, but I guess you probably saw this.
Yeah. We've only got one enhancement that we're aiming for 130. I've discussed this. I discussed it briefly with Kensei, who's sort of intended to do the code work. Since it's something we're just promoting to GA instead of beta, we don't think full blog post is required, but we'll make sure it's included in the release notes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks.
Cool. That is all we had on the agenda. Anyone else got any points to raise this week?
So if you have a minute, I joined. Hi, thanks.
Yeah.
So I lost the information to be able to send questions or concerns to the group. If you could, or someone could send me the process to be able to report an issue with either HPA or VPA, I would greatly appreciate that process. Secondly, do you know what group would be the best to contact regarding our adoption of stateful sets? So if we want to run our services as stateful sets, we're seeing some documentation that there is some concerns about running it that way. And so I'd like to pursue that further. Yes, we are using Fargate with AWS, as our Kubernetes vendor, but I'd rather talk to someone who works on the product, not AWS. So is there a group that I can reach out to for that? So those are my two questions.
Do you want to take question 2, Elmico, and then I'll come back to question 1?
I was just going to say, like, if you're curious about stateful sets and migration to use that, I think SIG apps, or maybe SIG bat, or maybe it's part of apps, owns that controller. So you might want to go ask in SIG apps to understand kind of the deeper intricacies of how stateful sets work and what you might need to do to migrate there. Did you want to talk about the open? I was going to say something about opening issues too, unless you wanted to take that guy.
Yeah, is there a contact for SIG apps that you could direct to me that I could reach out to? Because you're right, we would have to go to the control plane.
Yeah, the link that Guy
replicas.
just put into the chat, go into the Kubernetes community guide. That's really the central repository for all SIG information. So if you're looking for like where different SIGs meet or their meeting agendas or their times and whatnot, like that repository that Guy linked is like a great place to go. I mean, he's linked directly to the SIG app stuff. But I would say exploring that repository is a great resource for finding other groups to connect with as well.
Okay, excellent. That is very helpful. Thank you. And then for we are using back again, we do need VPA, and we're not sure about HPA at this time. So so if I do have an issue that I'd like to report, I know you had a process, and I'd like to follow that process in order to do it right. That's why, and if you could send me that, I would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, so there's slight complexity here. So the HPA is part of core Kubernetes repo. So issues or fixes for that should be raised in the core Kubernetes repo. The VPA we is built in a separate repo that contains a pile of 4 or 5 sub-projects. So those issues, bug reports, etc., with that project should be filed against that repo. I don't know if someone could stick the links to the 2 repos.
Those are 2 separate groups, is what you're saying.
Yeah. So again, that same community repo has, again, links to where all of our sub-projects live. And you can sort of follow those through to the different projects depending on what project. So if, for instance, you were using Cluster Autoscaler or Carpenter, you can follow it through to those repos and file the bugs in the appropriate place. In terms of wider discussions, either the SIG Slack or the meeting notes for the sticking agenda item in the meeting notes for this meeting. So if, for instance, a feature request that you're not sure whether or not it might be make sense for one of the sub projects, that would be the place to discuss it. And the way to get access to those meeting notes is by being a member of the SIG Autoscaling mailing list. I think all of those instructions are at the top of the mailing list. Almiko.
So I don't see, am I missing? I don't see the auto scaling. Is that, it's not in the list. Is that underneath one of them? Is that?
Sorry, which?
So the auto scaling.
Yes, so there's horizontal pod autoscaler and vertical pod autoscaler.
Right, I know, which is the HPA. But I
Yeah.
don't see. I'm looking at the groups right now. It must be under apps. I don't see it. It's not jumping out at me. Sorry, I didn't have time to go back and look at this.
No. So which link were you looking at? The first or the second one?
Oh, the first and second. Okay. All right.
So the first link is the one for stateful sets, and the second link is the sub projects that SIG Autoscaling owns, and the links related to those.
Okay. And for what larger discussions, let's say not an issue, but let's say just a best practice that we're looking for advice or suggestions on how to move forward. Would we do that via the Slack?
I would suggest probably the Slack is the best place. As you can see, the sort of you're likely to get more eyes and a wider range of eyes on something in the Slack than attendees on the meeting, to be honest.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and the information. Sorry for thanks.
Not at all. Happy to help. Cool. Anything else anyone wants to raise this week?
I was just going to add, Michelle, if you're able to get to the, or Michele, I'm not sure how you pronounce your name. If you're
Michelle.
able to,
Thank you.
Michelle, okay. If you're able to get to the agenda doc for today's meeting, I captured all these links that Guy was talking about in the agenda there. So you should be able to find all the links to everything we talked about today.
I don't think I can. That's the thing where, we don't use Zoom that much. We use Teams at GE. And so I don't think I can get to that agenda doc. That's part of what I was missing. So did you put that in the link also?
Yeah, Guy just linked it in the chat.
Got it.
It's a Google Doc, and
Okay.
he'll need to be part of the Kubernetes, like SIG Autoscaling.
Well, I did
Google.
join your group, which is why I have the invite.
Be able to see the doc, yeah.
Yeah, okay, awesome. Appreciate that greatly. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Anything else then? Cool. Awesome. In that case, thanks very much everyone for attending, and see you next week.
Cool. Thanks, Guy.